All right, Bulls Nation, that February 5th trade deadline is just 4 days away. And earlier over the weekend, we saw Bulls lead executive Arturas Karnisovas make a sort of a sidelines kind of move, being the third team in a trade that saw the Cavs and Kings swap some players around. The Bulls brought in Dario Saric's expiring money and stockpiled a couple of second-round picks for doing so. Kudos to AK for that move. It's a smart business move. Now, of course, the big question is if anybody's going to be around past that trade deadline, namely expiring contracts attached to quality Bulls guards like Kobe, White, Adesumu, and Trey Jones. There's something else, of course. Everybody around the NBA waiting for the big Giannis Antetokounmpo-shaped domino to fall.
Yeah.
Where will he end up? Will he actually get moved finally after years of speculation of him leaving Milwaukee? We don't necessarily call this reporting, but it's just an interesting trend that the NBA world has taken note of over the last 24 hours or so. One of the prominent sports books, and I'm not going to name them because we're always rocking with Bet365.
Always.
But y'all have heard of this sports book and can go find it. One of their accounts made note of the fact that over the last day or so, as far as teams most likely to be Antetokounmpo on the back of the jersey post-trade deadline, of course the Bucks and staying with Milwaukee still most likely odds-wise. The Bulls were somewhere at plus 4,000 or so in the last several weeks. Over the last day, that has vaulted all the way up to plus 310.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's
nuts.
That is a more than 10x jump and shift in odds of the universe and sports books or certain sports book thinking that Giannis is somehow going to be a Chicago Bull after this trade deadline.
So should I be excited about this?
I'm not letting myself get excited because personally, I, as a Bulls fan, and I think rightfully so, am a I'll believe it when I see it kind of person.
Sure, and you should be.
For all the speculation we've had over the years about, man, how awesome would it be if the Bulls found a way to get Giannis?
Yeah.
And people will like bring up one interview where he was asked pointedly about hypothetically playing for the Bulls someday.
Yes.
It wasn't like, hey, where would you like to play other than Milwaukee? And he named the Bulls out of nowhere. He was asked about playing for the Bulls someday.
He was.
And he was like, hey, great franchise. The house that Jordan built. Sure, why not? Other than that, all the recent speculation, whatever Windhorst or anybody else or Shams, the names of teams that they've rattled off as far as preferred landing spots for Giannis, Chicago's never come up. So I'm not getting my hopes up. But this is a very strange shift in betting odds.
Shout out to my man Doogie Shoes who says, how dare you do that to us? Like, I feel you on that. I think you're approaching this the right way, Matt. Kind of level-headed about this because it feels like you can't play with my emotions there to a rhythm of a hi-hat. You can't do it. And I agree. This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. We've done shows, Matt, and done mini pods where we were having our pitch to a Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to happen, But, just in case, here we're going to talk about Giannis the coming year. And so doing it like this, and again, I'm not a gambling man myself, but I appreciate you guys letting me know how important this is. But hearing that kind of thing and shortening those odds and bringing it right on down, it just peaks up like, It's like they're interesting, and it makes me wonder why.
Why it's like the Windy meme. Now, why would they do that?
Right now, why would they do that?
Why would they
exactly.
do that?
Now, why would the Bulls kind of leapfrog and jump all these other teams who maybe have more sexy-looking kind of things or something like that? It made me wonder. And when I personally wonder about things that have to do with the NBA draft, or things that have to do with free agency, or things that have to do with the trade deadline, there's one young man that I am going to go straight to and ask questions to, and I absolutely did that. And it is this gentleman over here. His name, ladies and gents, is Will the GOAT Gottlieb. So I'm going to pass it right on over to GOAT and allow him to regale me with tales of Giannis Antetokounmpo and how he could come to Chicago. GOAT, mouth the
You're really setting me up here. I feel like this is how Purdue must feel when you go, ladies and gentlemen, Will Purdue.
Shout out Uncle Will.
I mean, the first thing that I ask myself when I see this is this real? And you go to their website. I couldn't find anything, but it is like from their official account, and their official account retweeted it. So maybe it's just like on some page that I wasn't able to find. So that answers that question.
Okay.
And then the question is, well, why did that happen? I mean, going from 4,000 to 450 up to, what did you say it was, Matt? 310?
310.
Something had to have happened. And it reminds you of like when you're tracking a coach and their flight tracking in like college football and you're like trying to figure out who's going to recruit who.
Right.
It's like, did somebody see him at a Greek restaurant on Halston?
Our guy Paul in the
like,
chat just mentioned apparently Giannis was spotted in Chicago today.
Yeah. So
I think he also bought real estate in Chicago like
did.
last week.
He did.
People are freaking out.
And maybe that's all it
I don't know,
is.
Jim.
But that's a huge, dramatic increase.
Yeah.
And when it was 450, the only team ahead of them was the Warriors, and now I would guess that they are ahead of the Warriors. So I just don't know. I mean, the Bulls haven't been linked to Giannis outside of just, hopeful speculation from people online.
Yeah.
I don't really get the sense that the Bulls are trying to make a huge play for a guy like Giannis. I think they're very committed to building around Giddey and Mattis, and I think that they're kind of worried about that timeline and trying to set it up so that they can bring in other young players to build with those two. At the same point, if Giannis is available and wants to come to Chicago, it would be foolish not to at least entertain it and try to figure out how you can make a deal happen. And I actually think the Bulls are in a pretty decent spot to make a strong offer if they wanted to go that direction.
Okay.
But it's just a matter of, is Giannis going to extend here? That's
Right.
really the main question.
Well, the pieces, they have enough expiring money.
They have expiring money.
They have
all
young,
their draft
talented
picks,
pieces,
and
and
they
they've
have
got
young talent.
they've got control of all of their future first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that this should be the offer, but if they wanted to, they could offer Noah, Mattis, 5 first-round picks, including the Blazers' protected lottery pick, and expiring contracts. Or if they wanted Giddey, or if they wanted Kobe. Like, they just have a lot of different things and flexibility to give Milwaukee.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know if they're actually going hard on this or if this is just like complete speculation. But I do think the Bulls, if they wanted to, have a strong offer that they could put forward. I don't think it would require all the stuff that I just mentioned. But
Right.
if you think about what other teams that have been in the running, the Timberwolves have been mentioned, the Warriors have been mentioned. Who else? The Knicks,
Miami. Yeah.
The
Dallas.
Bulls, I think, have an offer just based on draft picks alone that can beat out all those other offers. So if they wanted to, and they've got expiring contracts, they could set Milwaukee up nicely. They have a Blazers pick, and that's key because the Blazers, I think, will be involved in this deal no matter who it's with as a third party, because the Blazers own 2 swaps and an outright pick from Milwaukee, which Milwaukee's going to want back if they're going to trade their best player and presumably bottom out for a couple of years here. So the Bulls could involve Portland, maybe send them some players to get Portland to send Milwaukee their picks back or their swaps back. And then you've got all these expiring salaries plus young players. Like, there is a real play. And I think there's part of me is don't overextend, don't push all your chips forward. This team's obviously, based on tonight's game, not good enough to really compete at the highest level. But at the same point, this is a top 5 player in the NBA at worst. This is a guy who's 30 years old, who can take you to the highest of highs and who would sell a ton of jerseys and sell at the United Center because he is one of the best players in the league and in league history.
Yeah.
And he's still in his prime. So on the one hand, I think you could give up enough to satisfy Milwaukee and still have enough to be competitive with Giannis. So depending on the offer, I think you got to entertain it. I'm not sure I would push in all those chips, but I think they absolutely could make a play.
How many years does Giannis have left on his deal?
That's a good question. I believe he has a player option after this season. So that's the big thing. And with the extension rules, I believe you have to extend.
It was a 3-year, $175 million extension that he most recently signed, and this is the first year of it. Okay. So, and it is a player option in the 27-28 season.
Yep.
So he's on the books for $58.5 million next year, and he's got a player option for $62.7 million in the 27-28 year.
So basically, the guarantee for sure is the rest of this season and one more
and
year.
next year.
And next year.
Is that
he's gonna probably opt out
to renegotiate another big payday
to just get a big extension. Yeah.
Right.
So, you could do the thing where you copy what the Raptors did with Kawhi and trade for him not knowing if he's going to resign and try to go win a championship anyway. Or you could wait for a guarantee from him that he's going to extend. But the problem is you can't really do that until the offseason when he can opt out in 6 months after being traded. So there is a lot of risk and uncertainty with that. But again, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's a 2-time MVP. He's a Defense Player of the Year. He's an NBA champion. He's a top 75 player of all time. Like, he is unbelievably good and would completely change the outlook of your franchise in a way that nobody else could, in a way that this team has been completely aimless looking for somebody as good as him and haven't been able to find anyone close. So I think you absolutely have to entertain it, even if it's maybe a little hasty, even if it's pushing in too many chips, even if it's beyond what the time frame of what your plan was.
Right.
It's Giannis.